All right, thanks everyone for being here. I'll get you all down. Let's open up here to the right. Adam King, WBNS.
Ryan, just general thoughts, first day being back, spring practice.
Yeah, no pads, but good to see a bunch of guys run around. Good energy out there. Continuation of the off season, which I thought was excellent. You can see guys moving around with a purpose, but different guys are in different phases of their career. And so, individually, each guy has different things that they're working on. There's some guys are just figuring out what to do, like what exactly, where am I going? Young guys or some newcomers. Then there's guys who have been veteran who played a lot of football. And so they're working on other things. So, and then as a team, we're really working hard on all the no talent issues and, building that discipline and skill, but it was a good first day, good energy, but no pads on. So not much to report.
And folks, I'm going to ask, I can only keep Coach about 20 minutes. So I'm going to ask if we could just, one question per guy. Bill Landis, Knights of, Kings of the North, and the podcast.
Ryan, I guess I'm about to ask you what the addition of Chip Kelly. I'm kind of curious about just his track record with run game. Every year he's been in college, he's had one of the best run games in college football. I'm sure you guys want to run it a little better than you did last year. How much of a hand does he have in kind of crafting that, changing that, just kind of molding that attack?
Yeah, a huge part of it. I think the great thing for he and I is that we see things the same way. But I think to your point, he brings a background of running the football that is really impressive. And certainly we know what we need to do to run the football. But I think he's excited about the guys that we have. I think some of our guys up front have had really good off season, so excited to see how the offensive line develops over these 15 practices, but also the running backs that we have, and all of our quarterbacks are mobile, so I think that's significant as well. But it's been great, just early on to exchange ideas of things that have gone on the last few years for him, things that we've done here, and as we go, what's going to be right for Ohio State, we'll continue to develop that.
Right behind him, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan asked you a month ago about Sonny Styles. He was with the linebackers today. Is that a permanent thing? What did that conversation?
Yeah, we want to, put guys in position to be the most successful they can, but also embrace it. And Sonny, has wanted to, do whatever he can to help the team. And we know that his skill set is versatile, and we're going to continue to work on that. But you will see him at linebacker. You'll also see do some other things as time goes on. But we think, he brings a lot to the table there. He can do so many different things. And I think that's, again, the exciting part year in and year out is you have different people in different spots, and then you have to figure out how you want to utilize them the best. Today was just day one, real basic, but he was working at linebacker today, so we'll watch the film and continue to build his package.
Front row, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, Chip has been your coach when you were a quarterback. He's been your boss. He is your mentor, and now you're his boss. How unique is that in your book?
And I think the other part of it is we've been friends, and we continue to be friends. And I think that's probably the thing that over the years, we're both very, very competitive. I could tell you stories, not right now, about when I played or even when we've coached. But then, when the meeting gets over, we get off the field, we're hugging it out, and there's a lot of love there. I owe much of where I am at right now to him. And so this isn't about, any of that, as opposed to, a couple guys part of a great program right now that are trying to go chase some great goals. And he's been great. He's really done a great job already of connecting with a bunch of the staff members and coaches, but more importantly, the players. And it's going to be a fun journey to go on, but it's going to be competitive every day. And that's one thing that he's always done, and something I've always admired about him, and the ability to adapt over time and change. And so, yeah, already it's been fun to come to work every day, because you're going to get challenged. But even more as you look ahead to, this spring, this preseason, as we get into the year, where is this team going to be? What's the journey look like? What's the offense look like? But so far it's been, enjoyable to come in and, be able to step out of the room and know that, there's a bunch of guys in our room that are grinding on it, that are going to get it right.
Super quick. Is he going to coach from the field or the box?
I don't know if we've talked about that yet. I know he's always been a guy who likes to be down on the field, but we haven't got that far yet.
Ron Haller, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Ryan, you've talked about wanting to sort of step back from play calling, see the bigger picture.
Yep.
But the guys yesterday were saying you may be stepping back also from the quarterback room. I mean, you kind of have this tag as the quarterback whisperer.
I wasn't whispering today out there, I can tell you that.
I mean, how have you had to juggle that decision? Because that's kind of what you're known for. That's your strength, that you're kind of backing off that a little bit. That decision, and is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, Chip is coaching the quarterbacks, and so much of what I learned was from him, and vice. We worked together in so many different areas, and then I coached for him, and even it's with the Eagles and with the 49ers and with him, there's just a lot of back and forth there, and so there's a lot of conversation, and so I'll still be very much involved, but certainly. Chip is running it. He's going to run the meetings. He's going to do all those types of things. But there's a lot of give and take there as well. A lot of conversation, and but it's a good group of quarterbacks. They've got really good leadership. They've had a really good off season. I think all the feedback we're getting from Mick has been very, very positive. I think we counted up between 7-on-7 and team reps. I think we had 150 reps today, and that's a bunch. And that's great because that's what these guys need. And the more we can spread those around, the better.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Brian, with the quarterback situation, you have some veteran guys,
Yep.
But none of them have a ton of experience in games in your offense. How do you divide up spring reps so that you can get them ready for what you hope will be a successful season, but you've also got some of these young guys that still need work?
Well, I think, like I mentioned, we're trying to get as many as we can. If we can get 150 a day, that's going to be a little bit different maybe when the pads are on. But the more we can get, the better, because these guys all need those reps. And then we'll put a body of work together and kind of figure out, probably halfway through the spring where guys are at and keep going from there. So I think the key is right now we have the ability, because of mid-years and those type of things, to have a pretty full roster, where maybe in the past in the spring, a few years back, before we had so many guys at mid-year, the transfer portal wasn't where it's at right now. The preseason roster would look a lot different than the spring roster. Now it's, there's only going to be a handful of guys that actually, come in during the summer. So we're able to get three groups, reps and equal reps. So again, it all comes down to those reps and making the best of them.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
You mentioned last time we talked to you about Josh Pryor potentially playing some guard in the spring. We saw Luke in there today as well. What do you like about him on the interior?
Well, he's very athletic. He's somebody who, to me, is very skilled in a lot of areas, making the transition to the offensive line here in the last couple of years. We think he's got a very, very high ceiling. And, he's got a list of things that, just like everybody has, that he's going to work on this offseason. He played tackle last year and did some good things, and we think he can still play some tackle, but we also really want to look at him at guard. One, because that's sort of an open spot right now, and then two, we also think with his quickness, he can get on guys quickly and he can bend, and that's very, very important in that position. And so with some of the schemes we're going to be running, we think he has the skill set in order to do it. So now he just needs the reps to go, prove he can do it. I think we'll come up for air in the spring and figure after spring's over and figure out what kind of progress has been made, evaluate it, and then go from there.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Road.
And I don't know if you've had a team with this much experience on the spring roster.
Right.
When you have this kind of situation, does it become advantageous for you guys to be able to get so many young guys reps because you can kind of set the veterans off the side and know that they're taking care of their business?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, there's guys that are different points of their career on the roster right now. And so as time goes on, right now, we just want to get as many reps as we can and get these guys going. But as time goes on, I think to your point, we have to evaluate some guys. Some guys are working on getting things better. Let's take a guy like, JT or Tyleek or, Cody Simon. I mean, they have a list of things that they're trying to get done purposefully this spring. Then there's some guys, take, some of the defensive linemen like, Jason Moore, Caden McDonald, Will Smith. I mean, these guys are trying to, push to get on the field and play. Completely different position. take a guy like Jeremiah Smith, who's a freshman who just literally, got here about a month or two ago and is learning the offense for the first time. Then you have guys like, Quinshawn or Will who have played football before, but now they're learning our offense. So all different guys in different points of their career. So we want to get as many reps as we can, but knowing that, like you said, there's certain guys that have played a bunch of football here. And, the idea for them isn't to just get as many reps as we can. The idea for them is to be pointed in what we're trying to get done with them as the spring goes on.
Austin Ward, the podcast.
Ryan, you've always talked about the quarterback position battles as carrying over to practice 16 in August. With the way everything has changed in college football, is there any part of you that feels like that there has to be more urgency or that it can't work that way anymore?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think we'll get a feel for how it all shakes out at the end of the spring. But to your point, it is different because of the portal, window opening. And we do have, a bunch of guys in that room. So, we're hoping to see some delineation as the spring goes on.
Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, obviously, Chip, a lot of his background is, coaching offensive linemen. What made you confident he could be the guy to coach for quarterbacks this year?
Oh, he's coached it all for so long, and he was my quarterback coach, and even back in the NFL, he had a huge hand in a lot of the quarterback meetings. He would sit in on the meetings, and I think even back, when I played, he coached all kinds of different positions, and I think that's what gave him, the point of view of seeing it from all 22. I think sometimes guys, they get caught up in one position and. They can kind of get a little bit narrow-minded. He sees it all, has seen it all for a long time, has a great feel for it. And, you want to be, when you're the play caller, you want to be lockstep with the quarterback because there's just certain things that, when you're calling a play, we went over that in a meeting and I'm calling this play for this reason. And when the quarterback understands this is why it's being called for these types of reasons, it's already been covered in the meeting. And if you're in those meetings, then you have intimate details on what exactly is being said. It allows you to call the game with more confidence, making sure that both guys are on the same page because those are the two guys that have to be on the same page. Yeah.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, Chip's teams at Oregon at the time of college football probably played at some of the fastest pace. Maybe the UCLA teams weren't quite that fast, but still over time it's played sort of that up-tempo style. Does that background change anything, what you guys want to do, either practicing down the road sort of thing?
Well, tempo is always going to be a part of what we do. It has changed. Some of the rules have changed, but I think more significantly just about, what Chip's done on offense over the years is, at that time it was innovative to be fast. That was kind of new. And so I think he's always been innovative on how he's done things and put his players in the best situation to be successful. And so what does that look like right now in college football in 2024? That's the journey that we're on right now. Will tempo be a part of it? Yes. Will we go fast every single play? No. Will we huddle every play? Probably not, but maybe. That's part of it. But I think all the different ways that we're going to attack defenses is going to be exciting, but also mixing in the tempos, the personnel groupings. Every team is a little bit different. And so it's not cookie cutter. But I think the point is that he's always been innovative in everything he's done. And then we continue to be that way this year, then we'll have a chance to go reach our goals.
Kellyanne Stitz, WSYS.
Coach, how have you seen Will Howard and the other new faces continue to integrate themselves into the quarterback room?
Well, I think you don't just walk into Ohio State. I've said this before and just, think you're going to go become the starting quarterback. It doesn't work that way. There's just too much pride here. What Mick Marotti and our strength staff does here in the off season, there's just a lot that comes with it. You don't just show up in the weight room and then go home. There's a lot of accountability that happens, and our guys take a lot of pride in that. And so there's only one way to do that, and that's to earn it through respect. But we had our champions meeting yesterday in the first quarter, and we had a bunch of newcomers, grade out as gold, and that's a big deal. And that's how you earn the respect of the guys around you. But that's going to be like that for the freshmen as well. The guys who are coming in and should still be seniors in high school are here trying to do that. Now they're younger and they don't have as much experience as maybe some of the older guys like Will and Quinshawn or Caleb Downs, but they still have to earn the respect of the team just as much. And that starts, in the weight room, but ultimately it's going to matter when we get on the field.
Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, last spring you wanted to kind of roam around a little bit more as like a CEO type, or just kind of GM of the team. Is the feeling of this practice, was it any different for you knowing you have Chip and a guy who kind of wholeheartedly trusted everything?
Yeah, there's no question, and maybe it isn't exactly where I'm walking around in the field, but where I'm able to look where my eyes are going, just thinking ahead of the message that maybe I want to give the team, or maybe grabbing a guy on defense and giving a message to him. It just allows me to be more present with the whole operation, which is something I recognize that I need to do.
Kings of the North.
Just a logistical question. With all these reps you're getting to quarterbacks, are you viewing Will and Devin as the two most veteran guys? Do you want what they get to be equal, like with the ones or with the twos, or is somebody getting more with the ones?
I think at least in the first quarter of the spring, we're just going to let them go play and just get a bunch of reps and roll them. I think as that starts to settle a little bit, we'll start to maybe make sure guys are getting the reps with the ones that need to, but we're going to let them compete, and it's hard for us to say, someone like, Julian saying, or Lincoln, or, Air, or whoever, hey, you got to come in here and compete, when, the first thing they do is take a bunch of reps with the threes. Now we want to roll you, whatever drill it might be, and so that you're getting reps with everybody so you can show what you do. So we'll compete. We have the fortune of having a little bit of time right now, and then as things shake, I think the big focus, and this is something we talk to our staff about, is in the spring we want to develop the individual player. As we get closer to the preseason, now we start to really grab onto the schemes and the team and the chemistry of the group. Now you still need to understand the schemes in the spring and how you fit into them, but that's something that we want to make sure we're developing each individual player right now, and that's the focus more than how does he fit in with the scheme or the chemistry of the offense or defense.
That's an extension of that question. Will comes in as a starter from another place. Devin was close last year, right? Was right in that battle a couple times when he got his chance. He got hurt. He was very emphatic with us yesterday about, like, hey man, like I'm here to compete. Like, what do you think of where Devin is just in this fight right now?
I was impressed with how he practiced today. He had good demeanor. He had that same conviction out in practice today that he shared with you guys the past couple of days. And so if he keeps building like that, he's going to have a hell of a spring.
Andy Backstrom, let him roll.
Ryan, in the Cotton Bowl, you mentioned that Carson Hampton was struggling a little bit, didn't play in that game. How's he doing now? How do you view that center competition with Seth?
He had a really good last couple months. It was excellent with Mick. I think having that year of experience has really helped him. He's, his numbers in the weight room are very, very good. So, the combination of having a year under his belt and having a good off season, allows him a great opportunity to go compete this spring. We'll kind of see what it all looks like here. Again, the pads aren't on, so with the offensive line, we won't know anything for a little while. But we've seen strides for him, and again, improvement marked with, or combined with the fact that he played last year a bunch, and we won a bunch of games with him in there. That matters. So, I'm fired up to see what he looks like here as we head into the middle of spring.
Dylan Davis, don't work his head.
Talked about developing the individual with the quarterbacks. For Julian and Air, I guess, is there anything in particular that you're looking for them to maximize their spring if they come away saying we did this or got better at that would maximize? They're just trying to find their way, right?
Yeah. But you're right. They're learning what to do. That's the first level. We've talked about this before. The first level is what to do, then how to do it, then why you're doing it, and what is the first thing right now. That being said, make great decisions, be confident, and take care of the football is going to be the things that they got to do. Compete your tail off, trust it, but they also have to put in a little extra work because they don't know. So, when you walk on the field, can you take a meeting to the field, or do you need 3 or 4 reps in order to say, okay, now I got it? As opposed to the real good ones, it's one mistake, I learn from it, I move on, and I continue to build fast. If we can see those type of trends, then we'll have something.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, I was just first day, but I was curious your very first impressions of the new guys, of Will, seeing them on the field, Will and Caleb Downs and Quinshawn, Seth McLaughlin, even Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, I think all flashed. You noticed them when it's going that fast or we're getting that many reps. It's hard to really focus on one guy, but they all flashed at times, and so we'll get on the film and kind of look. But you can see the talent in all of those guys.
Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
You made it pretty clear that Chip's coming here to run your offense. I think he said a similar thing, the Ohio State offense. At the same time, I know this is a more developmental time, but how much are you guys talking scheme and talk yet, and how excited are you to see sort of his brain? Your offense running through his brain, I guess.
Well, I think the thing is, in terms of terminology, I think it was important to keep a lot of the terminology because our guys already knew it. So in day one of spring, there was a quick, learning curve on some of it. Now that being said, what we've done here has been a lot of what I learned from him when I was with him before. So this is not like, two different, offenses trying to come together. What we've done here, there's been a lot of great things. What he's done has been, by the way, again, a lot of what we've done is what, I took when I came from, the NFL from him and, when I played for him. So there's just so many things in common. And a lot of times we'll be in meetings and, he'll kind of look at me and say, is it this play? Yes. It's just another word for it. So the terminology we tried to keep somewhat intact. He's made some tweaks already to the run game that I think have been excellent. And will continue to be that way. But it is important, I think, as I've thought about this, to make sure that, we are keeping it the Ohio State offense. This is not, my offense or his offense or somebody else's offense. This is the Ohio State offense, because we want it to be sustainable. We don't want, someone to come in or come out and then all of a sudden has to change. And I think that's been important to make sure that continues now through into the future.
Whitney Hardy, WCMH.
Ryan, lots of new faces today, and having Chip now here with you, just kind of a softball question here. Was it fun out there today? Because there's so much pressure we always talk about here. Right. Was there any different level of fun today versus maybe the last couple of years?
I think being around a group of guys that enjoy being at work every day like they are is fun. Yeah, it is. And it has to do with, the staff, but it really comes down to the players. These guys bring energy every day. They enjoy being out there. They're as close to NFL players and pro players as I've been around. They're very, very competitive. They can't wait to get the pads on, but it's fun to be around guys like that. And you have to bring it every day as a coach here. When you walk in front of these guys or you have a meeting in front of these guys, you better be prepared because they have a high level of expectation that we're going to coach at a high level. And we're all holding each other accountable right now. And so, yeah, that is fun as a coach.
And we'll wrap it up with Tim May from the Tim May Show and Letterman Road.
Yeah, following up on that, that's what I wanted to ask you. It brought the team together before the practice started and laid out some things. But was there ever a moment today when you were roaming around and maybe ranting sometimes and things where you just kind of like looked at, there's Caleb Downs, there's Jeremiah Smith, there's all these returnees, there's a quarterback room where you kind of went, damn, I mean, this is a pretty good assemblage of talent. And you kind of like swallow hard there too, like, yeah, people are expecting a lot about that from this.
Yeah. I think during our workouts and mat drills or seeing some of the team runs is kind of when you think about those type of things. You look at the guys and you see the potential and it gets you really excited. But then as much talent as we have, it's going to be the no talent issues that actually help us win and reach our goals. So that's been the focus now. And so once we get on the field, it's, that's what you focus on. It isn't seeing Jeremiah run a go ball. Like, that's great. But like, it's, it's the discipline of knowing what to do. It's the focus. It's running to the ball. It's effort. It's energy. It's all the things that, again, take no talent. And so that's going to be the focus. It's not about the talent anymore. That was about the last couple months. Now we need to acquire the skill and discipline it's going to take to go reach our goals. And that's what spring's all about.
Can I ask one quick follow-up?
Of course.
Has Chip embraced this role of working under you? I mean, how have you noticed his approach?
I just, again, he and I have always had a relationship. It was never really like that. Even, when I played for him or worked under him, we worked together, and I don't look at it like he works for me. He works with me. And that's just the way I've always been, because I love him and have for a long time. And I don't think he looks at it that way either. And so we both want to reach a goal just like everybody else. We're fortunate to be around such a great program, that has unbelievable tradition, but in a place where, we have what's in place to go reach our goals next year. And I think that's what fires us both up, but just everybody else on the staff as well.
We do have one last question. Bill Landis, Kings of the North.
Yeah, just curious, is there anybody that you know is not available for spring ball?
Yeah, we do have some guys that aren't available. I don't know, Jerry, if we talked about that. Do you want to go through a couple of those guys that won't be available this spring?
Guys that won't be practicing out there this spring will be Malik Hartford, Peyton Pierce, Miles Walker, Bryce West, and Court Williams.
But it's fair to say that we would expect all those guys back in the preseason, though. So, but they just won't be participating this spring. Everybody else, there will be a couple guys maybe that are limited, but everybody else will be able to go. Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Pardon me? Yeah.
Bryce West, Malik Hartford, Court Williams, Peyton Pierce, and Miles Walker. All right, we are going to open up the floor here shortly for the talent. Oh, look at this.
You guys waving? How we doing?
Do you have your hand raised? We're going to open up in the far back. Coach Jeremy Birmingham, Kings of the North, and the podcast.
Coach Chip.
Chip, first of all, welcome to Columbus. How has the move been for you? But as far as the decision that you made in the last couple months, like what went into that thought? I mean, not a lot of guys make the step you made.
Yeah. Sometimes I do a lot of things other people don't do. So I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I think it started when we were preparing for our bowl game. Ryan Gunnarsson, who's a great quarterback coach, left to go to Oregon State as the coordinator. So he wasn't there. So I actually coached quarterbacks during the bowl game. And I just started to think like I hadn't actually coached a position since 2008. And then I think my wife remarked, she's like, I haven't seen you this happy in a long time. And to me, the best part of football is football. And so you got to do football and not do some of the things that involve with the head coaching deal. And I had a chance after we beat Boise in the bowl game. And as we started recruiting, just to kind of think about what that experience was like. And then I get to make the decision on what my future is going to be. And so what do I want to do? So I started to look into, is there an opportunity? And it would have been the right spot to go somewhere and just coach a position again and be back with that group. Because I think as a head coach, you sit in on position meetings, but then you're always getting pulled out. And there's other things that are involved with being a head coach. And I think it's more of a CEO operation right now. You know, it's the job and the landscape, as we all know, of college football has changed. So I just thought at the time that, you know, there's a story about John Lennon when he was a little kid that had an assignment of what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be happy. And then his teacher said, I don't think you understand the assignment. And his mom said, I don't think you understand life. So I just want to be happy. And I'm really happy coaching a position, really happy to be at this place. You know, it would have taken a special place for me to leave UCLA because I love those players and I love that coaching staff. But to be here with Ryan, I had a great relationship. I've known Ryan since he was a little kid. So I think a lot of things just fell into place that way.
Coach, third row left, Andy Andrews, 11 Warriors.
Just diving into spring ball here, where do you see? Obviously, you know you have a big running game background. Where do you see this offensive line at, and how can you kind of simplify things to maybe help bolster their play during this season?
I was impressed just since I've been here in the last couple of weeks with their athleticism, their attention to detail, and their development as players. But to stay on day one that I think that our scheme is going to be this or this. It's, you know, that's going to be a work in progress as we start to get familiar with what the player skill sets are and then what we can do. And it's always a combination of what you have up front and then what you have out back. And I know we've got a couple really talented running backs behind them. So, you know, it's something that we're going to look at. But I also know you can't be one-dimensional in football. You need to be able to throw the ball as much as run the ball. You know, it's funny. Some people think I'm an air raid guy. Some people think I'm a wing T guy. Some people think I want to run the ball every down. You know, we're gonna do what's best for Ohio State, and that's kind of what our game plan is right now.
Front row right, Austin Ward, the podcast.
Chip, when you think about your first evaluations of the quarterbacks and going through these 15 practices, how do you want to structure that? I know that you and Ryan have probably talked about that a good amount. Like, what's the right way to set up a spring position battle?
Mm-hmm.
How many reps does everybody need? What's sort of your plan, just from a general perspective, I guess?
Yeah, you know, we're really detailed in what practice looks like. And how that's going to operate. But I also think you need to let the players go, you know, so I don't think you need to put shackles on them, so to speak, and just keep them constrained. I think you got to let them go and you got to let them operate. And we were rotating, I think, everybody on every 2 snaps today, and that was just what we're going to do on day one. You know, we'll reassess it after we got through it, get a chance to count up all the reps of how many plays each guy got, and did they get more in 7 on than they did in 11 on. You know, we'll go through that whole thing, and that'll be a constant flow in terms of how we're doing it. But I think the best way people learn is they learn by doing. You know, so they've been great in the meeting rooms. They're sharp when you get them on the board. They're really good when they're watching film, but you got to go out and you got to play the game. And so the more that we can put them in those situations to play the game, the better we'll have an opportunity to evaluate them.
Third row right, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Chip, I'm just
thinking how all of these things go back so far with Ryan Day. You mentioned since you've known him since he was a kid. What were your first impressions back then, and then to come full circle to now? Like, how do you feel about that?
It's still the same way. He, even since he was playing Little League, he was the ultimate competitor. And he was always trying to find a way to win. He was great at a lot of sports: baseball, basketball, football. I got an opportunity to recruit him. So I coached him when I was at New Hampshire. I recruited him out of high school. We grew up really close to each other. So same elementary school, same high school, same junior high, same college. So I've known him since for a really long time. But that competitive fire burns deep with him, and that's the one thing that I've always admired with him. And he's got an amazing athletic brain in terms of how to process things and how to put people in position to make plays. He's always been that prototypical coach on the field, no matter what sport he was playing. So I knew he was destined to be a coach. And I was fortunate in my career as a head coach to have him on my staff at a couple places. So I got a chance to see him work firsthand. I got to see him work firsthand as a player and then as a coach. So the success he had is not surprising to me.
What kind of pride there is there for you seeing Ryan and the success he's had?
Yeah, I think we all do that. I think we come from a unique place in a really small hometown in New Hampshire where we all take a lot of pride of where we're from, and when anybody's successful coming out of there, then you kind of take a little pride that it's the upbringing that we all had, in the youth sports program that we grew up in every aspect, whether it was football, baseball, basketball. Those coaches had an amazing impact on us, and that's why we are where we are right now.
Front row, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Bill.
Ryan said he doesn't think of it as you working under him; it's working with him.
Mhm.
The fact is, he's the head coach. You're the offensive
He
coordinator.
makes me call him sir, though. I didn't. He just said, "Can you do that day one?" And I was like, "All right, Ryan." No.
No, but I mean, he ultimately is the decision maker. You've
Yeah.
been a head coach. How do you think that's going to work? Do you think there'll be any, as close as you are, any kind of I don't know, awkward moments is the right term, but when he's the ultimate decider and you are working for him?
Yeah, I certainly understand my role. I'm not Al Haig. Like I'm not in charge here. Yeah. Some people get that reference. Other people don't get that reference. But I certainly understand it. And I actually kind of relish it because I really love the scheming part. I love the individual part. I love being in a meeting room with the quarterbacks and trying to game plan. But everything we do here is collaborative. The one thing that really struck me when I walked in this place is there's an amazing coaching staff here. And if you get a chance to talk to Larry Johnson just about football, or Tim Walton, or Jim Knowles, or Brian Hartline, or any of these guys that are on the staff here, it's a very collaborative effort. I think everybody's on the same page. It's not our offense and their defense and all those other ways. It's Ohio State, and it's Ohio State versus the 12 opponents that we're going to play during the regular season and then beyond. So it's really collaborative. And that's the thing I like just in the short time that I've been here is how collaborative everybody's been. We're all trying to make each other better and we're all trying to develop this team.
Touched on this when you said, you like to do what you want to do, and not. My sense is you, in your perfect world, you'd like to scribble plays on a napkin and not deal with boosters, not deal with all the stuff that head coaches have to deal with now. How much of a factor was that in this decision? You can just do football.
No, that's not it. I mean, I enjoy. I mean, we've had some amazing. I've had an opportunity everywhere I've been to meet some amazing people that are associated with the program, and there's people that from my time at New Hampshire or my time at Oregon. I was just with Phil Knight 2 weeks ago, and got an opportunity to spend some time with him and his wife Penny, who are dear friends of mine that have been great mentors to me in my career. And there's a bunch of people at UCLA, Terry Donahue and Andrea Donahue were awesome to me. Angelo Mazzoni is a great friend. Casey Wasserman, Troy Aikman. There was a bunch of people at UCLA that I really enjoyed, being around and talking with. So I think sometimes everybody wants to make a narrative of it's either this or that. It's never that. It's never just all ball. It's never just all recruiting. It's never just all boosters. It's a mixture of everything. But I think the one thing that, as this position as a head coach kept moving on, is that if you look at a lot of them, they all become more CEOs. I can't tell you how many coaches that have called me since I made this decision that said, "I'm 2 years behind you, brother," that are thinking the same exact way. And I think it's all part of what we have to do. I think we all need to protect this game and promote this game. And I think there are some rules that we need to get straightened out so that people understand what it's about, because the game is still about the players. I hope that never gets discounted. It's always been about the players, and I think if we can keep that at the forefront, the people that are making decisions on this, and I think Gene Smith is one of the best influences in the NCAA, is to make sure we keep that the main thing. The main thing needs to be the student athletes.
Right behind him, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
You're coming in at a time where you've been through some places where the expectations are high. I understand, but you're also coming into a juncture where 3 losses to Michigan, the not making the playoff last year. The urgency is pretty high here. I guess just sort of what perspective do you have on kind of the stakes that there are for Ryan this year, and the decision that then he makes to bring you in to kind of help solve that?
Yeah, I think the expectations can be no higher than they are in your own brain. And I think if you try to worry about what other people are thinking in their brains, you're going to get screwed up a little bit. So, I talked earlier, the one thing about Ryan that I know about him and has always been, he's the ultimate competitor. So there's nowhere that has higher expectations of Ohio State than Ryan does, nor the rest of us that joined him and are part of this and that are working with him. So, I think sometimes you can spend too much time thinking about those things. What you really have to do is just there's a big sign as you walk into this place that says win the moment. I think that's a real thing that we have to do as coaches, is to make sure that our players aren't worried about what's going on in the future or aren't worried about what's going on in the past, or worried about, can they get a little bit better today? And can we make improvement? And I think the one thing that I've seen here, and I've only been here for 3 weeks, but there's a consistency to the players' approach when they walk in this building every day, which is, it's unique. It's not like that everywhere else. And it's one of the things that I remarked to Mick when he said, "Hey, what do you think?" And I was like, it's impressive. It's impressive, the culture of the players that are in this program right now. But I think it speaks a lot to the leadership. There's a lot of older players on this team. And they've set the tone for the younger players. And I think the younger players have done a great job of fellowship and getting right in line with that.
Handed over play calling to someone before.
Mhm.
What does it mean to you? I guess he technically did it to Bill when he was here for a couple of weeks, but what does that mean to you to kind of be getting that responsibility from him? And he's calling essentially the offense that you gave him, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, I still think the play calling part will be a collaborative effort. And by that, I mean that if it's a good play, I called it. And if it's a bad play, he called it. Because the great part as an assistant coach is you can point the finger a little bit and just say, "Hey, I wanted to do this, but he trumped me." So we haven't actually discussed game day yet. We'll see how that operates. But everywhere I've been, it's been a collaborative effort. And all of a sudden, someone that's calling the plays isn't like pulls one out of left field that you hadn't practiced and hadn't been part of your offense and said, "Hey, let's do this." We're not running the annexation of Puerto Rico. We're not coming up with something special, in the middle of the fourth quarter that we haven't done. But I think it's the key to really being successful in offense is how you game plan, how you put it all together, and then how you practice and train for that so that you get a chance to execute it. Because the player's confidence comes from their demonstrated ability, that they've done this so many times in practice that when they get out on the field, that this is like that to them. It's not that they do it till they do it right. It's that they practice it so much so that they can't do it wrong. So, I think it's that whole part of it that is really the key to being a really good game planning team.
Second row right, Doug Maurice, Kings of the North.
Chip, when you had that feeling when you were coaching the quarterbacks during bowl preparation, did you consider at that point maybe resigning as the head coach and thinking like, this is not where I am anymore, I'll leave and then I'll look to see what else is out there?
No, I never thought about quitting anything. So, is there an opportunity that I think I can, that fit, and I think that's it's no different than when you're talking to a recruit about them making a decision on where they're going to go to school. I think that where they should go to school is where the best fit is for them. So, I just entertained some opportunities, and I felt like this was the best fit, but I never thought about quitting or not coaching. I'm going to coach. I'm going to coach, and then I'm going to die. I mean, that's how I think. I think about things. Is I can't picture that. I know I was on the Nike trip, and they like, "How much longer are you going to go?" And I said, I have to go another 15, 20 years. I don't think about retirement. I don't think about any of those things. That's just not kind of my mindset. That I love football, and as long as I can be part of this game, then I'll be part of this game.
And do you have just the way things worked out with your departure from UCLA? Is there anything that you wish you had done differently, or anything you regret, or just the circumstances that presented themselves? Do you think that you handled that departure the best that you could have?
Yeah, I mean, I got an opportunity to tell my players personally, I think in this day and age of the internet where they read it somewhere else and you have to text message them, that was always important to me, that I wanted to make sure I talked to my players and explain the reasons of what I was doing. I wasn't leaving to take a head coaching job somewhere else. I wasn't thinking that the grass is greener at another university. It was just in my personal situation. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to take an opportunity to go be a position coach and coordinator, and that's how it fit. What I was happy is that I always thought Deshaun Foster, I think the world of him, and I think he's special. And the fact that they gave him the opportunity to take over there was, it worked out. I didn't have any say in that decision. I was gone, but I always thought that Deshaun would be a great head coach, and I'm really proud of him and happy that he got the opportunity to take that job.
Right behind him, Rob All or Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Chip, your reputation as innovator. Was part of the appeal of this is that you get to get in the weeds a little bit? Maybe not mad scientist, maybe too strong of a word because you're working within the system. But was there an appeal of I get to get my hands dirty here again and innovate and get back to that side of things?
It was, but it was really more important of who I get to work with, and so knowing, I know a lot of guys on the staff besides Ryan also. So, and I know what their mindset is and what their values are and how they do things. And so I wanted to be a part of that, but there's a part of that. Yeah.
How much of a teacher you get labeled an innovator? The teaching's a part of this. How much is of a teacher are you, and how patient are you?
Yeah, I think we're all teachers. I mean, education is the transportation of knowledge, so it really doesn't matter what the coach knows. It matters what the players understand, so you have to be able to make sure that while you're implementing things is what resonates with them and how does that come back to them. So, a lot of our teaching styles that we've learned is more the Socratic method of there's a lot of questions, and a lot of check for understandings just to kind of find out where the players are coming from, because it's what they know that's ultimately going to win games, not what we know. That we're not playing the games. We're not stepping across those white lines, and your job as a coach is to create an environment where they have an opportunity to be successful and then get out of their way and let them go do it. So I think the teaching aspect is huge, and we continue to research, some of the latest trends in teaching to make sure that we are transporting that knowledge to our players.
Several left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach. Just curious, you got 5 scholarship quarterbacks with differing levels of experience and age and everything else. Not to anoint him, but just want to ask specifically about Will Howard. Coming in after starting part of 2 years at Kansas State, he just seems to promote this idea that he's a football player, above all else. Just how impressed are you with his makeup, his experience, what he's bringing to the table walking in here right now?
Yeah, really impressed. You don't have to talk to Will for more than 5 minutes to kind of know where he's coming from. He's really focused. He knows he's got a short window left in his college career and really wants to capitalize on what that is. There's a maturity to Will. I've had my experience in this thing since the transfer portal opened in college football is some of the best players I've had an opportunity to coach were transfers. Sometimes when you're a true freshman and it's 5 years out, it's like, hey, I got a ton of time, and sometimes when you're a transfer is that I've got 9 months, so there's a sense of urgency, I think, when you're dealing with transfers. And I think Will has exuded that since he's been here. But the other thing that just in the short time that Will's been here is how quickly he's fit in with the entire team, and how much the rest of the players respect him. He was one of the gold award winners for his work in the weight room in this offseason. So that says a lot for him coming in here as in a short time, being able to win a weight room award, to start off.
Do you guys hope to have a number one internally, externally at the end of spring, or I guess just let it play out? How do you?
I think every time I've been involved in these, I think when they're organic is when it's the best. I don't think you can anoint somebody or force the issue, because the players know. The players would understand. They see it every single day. And there's a team chemistry part of this thing too. So we're not going to force the issue, but I've always seen it play itself out. So I've been fortunate that there's always going to be some quarterback battles at some point in time. At every school, there's a quarterback battle, and really you got to let them play it out on the field, and that's where it has to. That's where it has to be decided.
Folks, got time for just a couple more. Far left, Whitney Harding, WCMH.
Hey, Coach, welcome, and we're excited to have you here.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of to talk about the innovative part. Ryan said that that's something that he's always loved about working with you, and now he wants you to bring that here and how it would fit with Ohio State. Do you have any idea what that's going to look like yet, or is it just way too early?
I have no idea. You know, I think part of it is you're trying to put the players in position to make plays. So a lot of that comes from getting to understand the players and what their skill sets are and how we feature what their skill sets are. You know, and the one thing after day one, I can tell you that there's a lot of skill set out there. You know, so that's what gets you excited. You know, that's what you jump out of bed in the morning and you're excited to go to work because of the talent that you get to work with. But the one thing that's the most impressive is the work ethic that goes along with that talent. You know, it's not just empty talent. It's you got some kids who want to, I mean, all of them since I've been here want to work. So that's what gets you excited. But I think assessing what the skill set is, you know, that we have available to us on the offensive side of the ball is vitally important. And then our job is to put those guys in positions to make plays.
You've been in places before where there's been lots of pressure. I mean, you've experienced what it's like to coach national championship caliber teams. This program right now is moving into a situation where you got to win quick and now. So does that feel like pressure here for you, or is it a little bit of excitement, or both?
Well, I've always subscribed to is pressure is what you feel when you don't know what you're doing. So if you don't want to feel pressure, then you should know what you're doing. So, you know, I think it's part of that. And I think part of our job with our players in terms of the education process is getting them to understand that too, is that, you know, it's about your preparation. It's about you and your development. It's not about that you can't be governed by what other people say. It's what's my mindset and how am I intrinsically motivated and how do I really compete against myself on a daily basis to get a little bit better. You know, we got a little bit better today because we got out on the field today and got a chance to do some football. And then the challenge is when we get back on the field on Thursday, can we be a little bit better than we were on Tuesday? And if we're doing that, then we keep stacking good days on top of good days, and I think we'll be in a good spot.
Front row, Dave Biddle, Fox 7 Sports.
Hi, Chip, and welcome.
Thank you.
I want to ask about the pros and cons of coaching from the box and coaching from the field. It's interesting. Talked to some offensive coordinators. I remember Tom Herman talking about it. He swore he wanted to coach from the box, saw the game so much better, sterile environment, not all the chaos on the field. Some coaches you talk to, they're like, I want to be on the field so I can look at my guys in the eye. Where are you at as a coordinator?
Honestly, and I've thought of this a lot. I thought of it a lot during COVID because we had the empty stands. You know, so I had thought about just walking up into the stands for a little bit because I had a better vantage. I've always believed you can see the game better from up above, but I believe you can feel the game better from the field. So if there was any way we could get a zip wire where you could do both, you know, coach called from there, then zip down to the field, get a chance to talk to them, because it's a different deal when you're talking to the quarterbacks on a phone, you know, than being able to look in their eye and kind of see where they are with it. And part of it is the feel part of it. I remember when I coached Ryan once, we were playing UConn and he got hit hard going out of bounds, and he just walked by me and I was the play caller and he was like, run the next play. And I just kind of looked at him. I saw the look in his eyes because I don't think he could have thrown it. You know, he was still trying to get his wind back. But you wouldn't know that if you're up in the booth, you know, and you call a pass play from up in the booth and you're like, how come he can't complete that? Well, he just took a shot going out of bounds. So it's that fine line, and I don't have an answer. You know, I think it's feel on the ground and it's see from up above. Maybe in this day of technology, they'll figure it out. But we'll see how that operates. And whatever Ryan feels is the best for the team is what we're going to do. So.
Your teams at Oregon were obviously known for playing at this
Mhm.
fast pace and running a bunch of plays per minute, and maybe not by as fast as you said, but still pretty fast. What role do you see tempo and having an offense in this day in college football, and how's it maybe changed?
I think the game is always evolving. You know, I think when I left in 2012 to go to the National Football League, Oregon was the only team that was playing really, really fast and had shiny helmets. And when I came back in 2017, everybody had shiny helmets and everybody was playing fast. So I think the game is always going to go up and down, and there's going to be different cycles that it goes through. I think tempo is part of an offense, but I don't think it's an offense in itself. I think it's more of like if you go to dinner, it's a side order. You know, it's not the main course, but it's always good to have it. So I think there's times when you'll use it, but you're not going to use it extensively the entire game. Just like you're not going to throw the ball every single snap in a game. You're not going to run the ball every single snap in a game. You know, there's not a game of absolutes anymore. I think the ability to be diverse and have it as a tool in your toolbox, so to speak, is really how we would look at using it here.
Is that because defenses are now more familiar with it than?
I think so. You know, I think when you first started going tempo, there were people in the NCAA that wanted to outlaw it. They wanted to make an NCAA rule that you couldn't do it. You know, and I'll give Coach Saban credit. I mean, I think obviously Nick was the first one to do it. He wanted it outlawed, and then all of a sudden he adapted it and said, "All right, we like this." You know, so we'll keep it in. But I think people have. It doesn't matter what you do. There's cycles to this game, and then once people catch on to that cycle, then it moves. It's no different than 4-3 defenses and 3-4 defenses. What is the rage when the Giants won the Super Bowl? They were a 3-4 defense, and everybody says we have to do that. What people didn't understand is they had Carl Banks and Lawrence Taylor. It didn't matter what defense they were running. I know Jim's back there, and Jim played against them. It was. They could have been a 4-down defense, and those guys would have been great players. But it's not the scheme. I think the coaches that do it the best way is they insert their players and put them in the best position to make plays. And now will tempo be part of it? It'll be part of it, but it's certainly not going to be the main course.
And folks, I'm sorry. Last question, Tim May show Letterman Row.
Oh, thank you very much, Jerry. Number one, there was a great moment there when y'all were warming up, when you were talking with Tim Walton, and Caleb Downs comes up, and y'all are conversing. And this is kind of a two-part question, but number one, what was just your take on the talent you saw on that field today?
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball, where would you rank it? You know where I'm going.
Yeah, I'll rank it. I'll be very transparent. As I was telling Tim and Caleb what a great offensive player I thought Caleb would be, could be, and should be, but I'm not the head coach. So I always, during stretch, as an offensive coordinator, I'm always looking at the defensive players like I could use him. Oh, what could I do if I had him? What could I do if I have him? But I don't get to choose him anymore because I don't have the pick. But I was just talking to him about it. He's a great young man. And if you want to watch a highlight tape, watch his highlight tape of him on offense when he was in high school. He's an impressive dude. So
But just the talent on hand there is on this field today. But obviously y'all weren't practicing real football yet, but
yeah,
close.
No, there's obviously this is a very talented football team, but I think Ryan made a point to the team, and I think our players really understand it's the non-talented things that are going to help this team win. It's the discipline development that we're going to have. It's the skill development that we're going to have here during spring ball that's going to be the difference maker. Because there are a lot of talented teams out there.
What did Brian tell you when y'all you came up with the final deal here that you're going to come here as offensive coordinator? What did he tell you he wants out of you? Meaning, what does he expect you to bring to the table, so to speak, or what does he want better than last year?
Yeah, I don't. We didn't really talk about the past, and I've never been one to talk about the past. It was just, what's the future and what would it look like, and what are the pluses of this place, and I understand, why Ohio State has been the tops in the country in recruiting, because the head coach is a really good recruiter. So those conversations with the head coach from a recruiting standpoint, I can tell what a good recruiter he is, but he also has an amazing place to sell. I think this is in the short time I've been here, the fan base is amazing. The people that work in this building are amazing. And I think the support that this football team has is amazing. So, just highlighting those couple of things to me were, it just seemed to fit for the timing in my life of where I wanted to be and what we wanted to do. And it worked out. So today was a good day.
Coach, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Sharon.
Hey, folks,